Let's talk some PayPal. To help us do that, I want to welcome in TD Ameritrade Network contributor Evelyn Baker here on Fast Market. Good morning to you, Evelyn. We just talked some Visa, and there's a little bit of a relationship between Visa and PayPal as you can process not only directly through the bank, but you can process some of your credit card transactions through the PayPal checkout as well.
Hey guys, yeah, PayPal shares are up 1.5 or more than 1.5% today, and they're trading at all-time highs. But really, all throughout December, we've seen the stock setting new records almost each day. But you know what? So are shares of Square. In fact, even though PayPal's up more than 120% year to date, Square stock is up more than 270%. So it's really hard to talk about one of these names without talking about the other. And it seems that when we're talking about stock action specifically this year, we have seen Square outperforming PayPal. But I do want to start with this first tweet that I have for you guys today about PayPal. This Twitter user said that there's a bull flag forming in PayPal. The stock is up in the pre-market. And I can't wait to see what is up with option activity today. Another entry for January 15th, maybe. And hopefully this Twitter user is watching the show right now because you guys are the options guys, as far as I'm concerned. But there was some positive analyst actions in PayPal today. A Deutsche Bank analyst kept a buy rating on the stock and raised the firm's price target up to $275 from $234 previously. And that implies a more than 15% upside move for the shares, or from where the shares closed on Monday. But the price target raise wasn't PayPal specific. Instead, it was based on acceleration in the overall adoption of e-commerce and the mobile payment services. So Deutsche Bank also raised its price target for Square up to $255, up from $215. But there's a lot of competition between Square and PayPal in the space, with the dominant opinion, especially on social media from what I saw, that Square is more innovative. And one thing specifically that Square did have going for it before PayPal did, and that's probably the most interesting to traders as of late, was its adoption of cryptocurrency. And I have another tweet for you guys today. And this Twitter user named Derek says, "Stay diligent now that PayPal is in the Bitcoin game. It trades very similar to the coin. And hard pullbacks in Bitcoin will do the same to PayPal, which is a definite buying opportunity." And whether or not that will be a buying opportunity is obviously for each trader to justify for him or herself. But I chose this tweet, guys, because of the heat that we've seen in Bitcoin lately, which reports say has largely been driven by PayPal and Square. In fact, a report by Pantera Capital found that PayPal and Square's Cash App have bought almost 100% of all the new supply of Bitcoins entering the market each day. And so even though PayPal wasn't the first to get into crypto, it is the biggest still. PayPal has over 300 million active users globally, and it's the largest fintech firm to facilitate digital currency trading. Both Square and Robinhood actually enabled crypto trading in 2018, but that's really been getting off the ground most recently. But Kevin, my question to you is, with Square and PayPal specifically entering into Bitcoin, I think of Bitcoin still as being a little bit of a riskier asset. Is that still true, or how risky is it for PayPal to be investing this much into digital currencies?
Yeah, Evelyn, well, two things. Number one, trading in Bitcoin has never been less risky. However, it's still extremely risky. Exactly right. I mean, I think a lot of PayPal and Square's advancement lately has been because of their embracing cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is very popular right now. The long-term view seems very positive. However, there's roadblocks and chasms and problems in the future for this currency. So the road is not going to be a straight line, but that doesn't mean, cryptocurrency has been more and more adapted and more accepted as a currency than ever before. Its progression is slow, but it is moving in the right direction of being adopted, guys.
Yeah, well said. And while Square gets a lot of the headline and a lot of the noise surrounding this space, Evelyn, to your point, PayPal still a lot bigger company at almost 3 times the market cap of Square. So we'll see if Square is able to continue to close on that gap going into next year. But Evelyn, we've got to leave it there. Great stuff, great setup here for us. Evelyn Baker, TD Ameritrade Network contributor. Have a great holiday season. Look forward to seeing you again soon. So say goodbye to Evelyn. I want to welcome in Megan Brantley, the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com, to join the conversation here. And so, Megan, there's a lot of ways we can look at this. Obviously, there's probably ties to e-commerce with the PayPal checkout system. Of course, we can't forget Venmo. Square and Cash App are always kind of a topic of discussion, but at least in my circles, Venmo still seems to be the verb and kind of the name that we use whenever we're talking peer-to-peer transfer.
Yeah, I actually had to look up what that means whenever a name like Venmo or like Uber becomes the generic phrase, and that's an eponym. And so there is definitely an eponym effect of Venmo. We see whenever users are talking about actually using Venmo or downloading the service, those are up about 5% year over year. We saw a huge surge, especially at the onset of the pandemic. We're seeing a similar pattern in PayPal itself. Whenever you look at those digital purchase mentions, those are pacing up about 14% year over year. Obviously, there was a huge surge in PayPal mentions specifically at the onset of COVID as stores were shifting to digital presences, and PayPal helped facilitate this. In all, e-commerce mentions are up about 31% in the last month. So I think that that's one of the tailwinds that's helping to propel PayPal. And this cryptocurrency, this chart that you're looking at, this is another one we're tracking just because of recent news in the space. Square got out first, and Square was kind of a first mover in this cryptocurrency market, if you will. And now PayPal is playing a little bit of catch up. But you can see here on the chart just how well received this, foray into cryptocurrency is being perceived by users. This growth is up over 200% just quarter over quarter. And you can see the mentions of people who are talking about, buying, selling, or holding a cryptocurrency via PayPal is now higher than with Square. And we've seen enormous success for Square in the past as they've dabbled into cryptocurrency. So while the exact mechanisms, and while obviously cryptocurrency, as Kevin described, is kind of a risky, or perceived as risky by a lot of traders and investors, our data suggests that this is something that consumers care about, and this is something that consumers are starting to turn to companies like PayPal and like Square to get involved with.
Megan, the real question that a lot of people have, and the topic whenever cryptocurrency comes up, and PayPal, Square getting involved in cryptocurrency has given them another step on that ladder of acceptance. But that doesn't mean that this is going to make it. So is this still considered in many ways a fad and something to be discounted? Is it legit yet? In LikeFolio's opinion, and I look forward to the day, Megan, when we can use LikeFolio like a verb. I LikeFolioed this trade. I look forward to the day that we can say that. But getting to this, I want to know, how close is this to becoming really legitimate in terms of a means to exchange goods?
It's interesting. PayPal announced plans that, not only are they going to allow you to buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrency, they're actually going to allow their users to start using this to complete transactions in the next year. So that's something that we'll watch really closely, because I think that kind of makes cryptocurrency real for a lot of users, the fact that you can actually use it to complete a transaction. So there's that element. But just overall, from an investing standpoint, we are tracking mentions of people who are talking about investing in cryptocurrency, and we're seeing that tick up pretty significantly. It's up about 66% quarter over quarter just in the last month. And it's more of this 66% quarter over quarter. That's not slow, but it's not that rapid adoption that we saw, in 2018, where I think that burst pretty quickly. So it's more of a slow and sustained uptick. So that's something that we'll definitely watch moving forward. I think people are definitely more and more interested in crypto. And I think that PayPal knows that its users are more inclined to use these cryptocurrencies. I think in studies, when you look at the rate of people who overall use cryptocurrency or invest in cryptocurrency versus PayPal users are more inclined. So I think there's a little bit of a know your audience there, and I think it will be really powerful in the long term if PayPal can actually make this cryptocurrency actionable for consumers to complete transactions.
And I think you both alluded to it here, Megan, about how it's kind of a mutual benefit. I think it legitimizes the cryptocurrency space a little bit to have these kind of names behind the technology and those currencies. But also, it opens up kind of new markets for a company like PayPal, particularly when it's kind of key competitor, which it certainly is a competitor now in Square, has been in that market for quite some time. You have obviously companies like Robinhood as well that are participating in that space. So obviously a clear growth opportunity, and as you just cited, maybe some interest from its already existing consumer base, another way to monetize them. Looking at PayPal as a whole, though, Megan, before we let you go here, kind of sum us up. Like, do you, from a LikeFolio standpoint, obviously the cryptocurrency conversation is very, very interesting, especially from a growth standpoint. But there's a lot that goes into this. Obviously, the macro kind of consumer picture and what holiday shopping is looking like, e-commerce versus brick and mortar. All of this kind of feeds into a PayPal, obviously peer-to-peer transfer too, especially when interest rates start to tick up. But Megan, when you look at PayPal as a whole, where does LikeFolio sit now? Obviously, about a month before its next earnings release, how's things shaping up here for PayPal as a whole?
Yeah, so big picture, whenever we look at how PayPal is doing, there is some growth year over year. We're seeing that being propelled specifically by e-commerce, like you mentioned. That's a huge macro trend. Is increasingly consumers are completing these purchases online, and PayPal is well positioned. If you want to look at big picture Square versus PayPal, we're seeing a stronger growth rate out of Square specifically. I don't think that that's necessarily a surprise either, as Evelyn pointed out. The different, even the market is aware of how well that Square is executing. But I think that PayPal is positioning themselves well. This foray into crypto is a positive sign, and we're seeing sentiment improve alongside that. And they are continuing to capture and increasingly capture those digital transactions. So, this is something that we're watching into the new year. We want to see how they continue to execute. But so far, it is good to see that sustained growth year over year heading into the holiday season.
Good stuff, Megan. We'll leave it there. Great setup here for us. Have a great holiday season if we don't get a chance to see you again before. Megan Brantley, VP of Research at LikeFolio.com. Always a pleasure.